The second generation Audi Q7, when it arrived in Malaysia from Germany, it had a price tag of 600,000 ringgit. But thanks to these three magical letters, Audi Malaysia has introduced the second generation facelift at a mere 482,000 ringgit, inclusive of Audi's assurance and warranty program. And this makes the Q7 the most attractively priced among its 3-litre powered rivals. But should the Q7 be your next luxury family SUV? Let's find out. My name is Adrian, I'm all about the details, and you're watching cDrive.
Burned you once before. You can chew me up and spit me out if you don't want to see me anymore. But I just want to try it, because all that I can think about is you.
Yes, you heard me right. This handsome look is indeed a facelift. However, it still rides on the same MLB Evo platform shared with the Porsche Cayenne, Bentley Bentayga and Lamborghini Urus. Now, Audi Malaysia has decided to spec the Q7 in its highest available trim, which is the S-Line, that adds sportier aprons, gloss black trimmings all around, and my favorite bit, the 22-inch V-spoke alloys wrapped around Bridgestone Turanza T005 premium tyres. The Q7 has the longest wheelbase in class, 2,999mm, with a length that spans over 5 meters. However, because it's being the shortest in terms of height, it really masks the sheer length of the Q7. Thanks to rear-wheel steering and the electronic power steering calibration, it really aids in terms of the low-speed maneuverability. So the Q7 is really not cumbersome to drive at all. In fact, it feels like it's one segment smaller, especially when you're driving around town. The Q7 offers the most practical boot space with all 7 seats up. Just look at this. I'm able to stuff in check-in luggage, cabin-size luggage easily with room to spare. And over here, there's buttons to control the air suspension, to slightly lower down the car, so that it makes it easier for me to load items in and out. And to fold down the third row seats, it's just electronically powered. Push of a button, and with that you have 780 liters of boot space. You can find the tire repair kit underneath the false boot floor. But my only gripe in here is that although it has a kick sensor to open up the boot, to close it, you have to manually reach for the buttons. Keyless entry is present on all 4 doors. And once your passenger gets in, there's no need to slam the doors because soft closing. Seated in here, it's a very typical Audi layout. You get big screens all around, and it just gives you a very executive, posh-like interior and cabin ambience. So I love the center infotainment screen that supports wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and all the car's main controls and functions are housed within here. And underneath, it's the climate control panel where it shows all your seating settings, your climate control settings, rear aircon. And over here, you're able to do a very quick shortcut buttons. When you press the top menu buttons, you have your auto start stop, your hill descent control, auto parking mode, as well as turning on and off your head-up display. Below that, it's a row of physical buttons for your drive select, traction control, volume knob, and over here, this P in the center, this is for you to activate and function your auto parking. So unlike other systems whereby auto parking, you just push off a button and the car will do its thing, in an Audi, you need to press and hold throughout the entire operation. Although the screen is very high resolution, high definition, however, once you have Apple CarPlay connected, you want to change your car settings, you have a multitude of things going on at the same time, it can appear to be a little bit slow in terms of its reaction, especially when you do this. For example, I'm connected to Apple CarPlay and then I want to turn on my heating, cooling, and massaging seats. Just push here. Yeah, you see, it takes a bit of time for that menu to pop up. Over to the driver's side, the left side of the steering wheel controls the screen's information, so you're able to cycle through the different driving information, and the swivel wheel to move up and down, and push of a button. This menu button accesses extra sub-menus. But the coolest feature is on the view button. You press the view once it's able to display either the minimalistic display for the tachometer and the speedometer, or you get a full screen display for those two information. I think it's quite cool. And over to the right side is the multimedia controls, and this star button here, it's a programmable shortcut key, which I like to use for the 360-degree camera. To operate the adaptive cruise control is via the stalk here, so push all the way inwards. It's in its off position, but you pull it towards you. This is where you turn it on, and push up and down to select the speed. Push the set button to set your desired, to turn the function on, and you're able to set your desired set distance over here. Now, something that I really like in Audi, it's a shortcut key to turn on and off the lane keep assist via the signal stalk here. So yeah, lane departure warning, I think this is very clever because I don't have to always go into the screen or look for a button to turn on and off the lane keep assist. The side door bins fits a large size water bottle, big thumbs up from me. And the storage space, 2 cup holders in the center. And this is where you slot your phone. Yeah, this I will typically slot my phone over here. And something that's quite cool is that the center armrest is able to extend forwards, but look at it. Whenever it extends forward, it raises up ever so slightly so that it does not impede whatever that's placed over here. I think this is a very thoughtful solution. However, center armrest storage is rather shallow. You have your USB Type-C ports and a wireless charging tray here to place your phone. That's all. Over to the passenger side, I have plenty of adjustment, including height as well as 2 memory functions. And if you want to activate the massaging seats instead of using the center screen here, there's this shortcut key button over to the left side. Just on the center button, you press it once, it will activate the massaging function, just like that. Now, the charging ports is located in the center armrest here, and the glove box is a conventional latch, and the lug nut safety covers removal kit is here. And the vanity mirror has vanity light, and what I like about this, you're able to block the sunshade front and the side simultaneously. Seated in the back seats, I have the front seat adjusted to my usual driving position. I'm 175 cm tall, and I have about 1 tennis ball's worth of knee room. And despite 1 tennis ball's worth, I still get a very comfortable seating position because I'm able to very comfortably slot my feet underneath the front seat to stretch my legs a little bit on long distance drives. However, all the way backwards, I have about 3 and a bit tennis balls worth of knee room. If you have passengers in the third row, just getting about 2 tennis balls worth, they'll be very comfortable at the back too. The climate control panel is located underneath there, but it takes a bit of a stretch. Underneath there are 2 USB Type-C ports, and the center armrest you have to push and pull. That opens up to 2 cup holders if you don't have a middle passengers. But despite all of this, the Q7 middle row seats gets a big thumbs up from me because the side door bins are able to fit a large size water bottle. Of course, not to forget, side sunshades. The rear doors opens wide enough, but if it's able to extend another 15 degrees, that'll be perfect. Now, to access the third row seats, you first have to pull this latch here, push this down, and push this lever, so you're able to release the middle row seats. And that comes with strut bars, so it makes it easier for you to lift it up. Now, to get in, as easy as that. I'm 175 cm tall. As I've mentioned, the middle row seats have about 2 tennis balls worth of knee room. And look, I'm not even brushing the middle row seats. However, I wish that the rear seat back is able to recline ever so slightly further because this is as far back as I can go, so I'm seated a little bit upright. However, I'm able to very comfortably slot my feet underneath the front seat because there's a lot of opening slots for me to slot my feet. So on long distance drives, this is actually not too bad, especially when I have the brilliant B&O speakers mounted up here, so I'm able to indulge in the fine tunes that the driver or passengers are playing. Now, to strap up, it's a 2-step operation in the Q7. So yeah, first you have to pull the seatbelts from here. On one side, first pull to the right hand side of the buckle, and then it becomes a 3-point operation, just like that. So yeah. So yeah, setting off in the Q7, there are 7 different drive modes that alters the powertrain, steering and suspension setup. However, I find myself just perpetually leaving this car in auto mode. Now, what it does is that, let's start with efficiency. So in efficiency mode, the car will just upshift at the highest gear to the highest gear at the lowest RPM possible, which to me, I feel that it's not very pleasant because it makes the car feels like it's lugging the engine all the time. In comfort mode, it's a little bit better, but it still tries to, hunt and stick at the highest gear possible. So whenever you're looking to do a hard acceleration, you will feel that, okay, are you sure? It feels like the car is asking you, you really want to do that? You really want to waste extra fuel? Okay, I'll give you the power. It's not that the car is underpowered, it's just that the response, it's not as immediate as in auto mode. So in auto mode, the car is just so clever at deciding what you need at that exact moment. It depends on your pedal input, your steering angle, and even your geometry, your pitch, whether you're going on a downhill, you're coasting, or you're going at an uphill. It combines all the best of all the different drive modes and adjusts the car accordingly, and it feels very natural. It's not like one moment you're expecting it to be in comfort mode, it becomes in sport mode, or you're expecting it the extra power in sport mode, but it becomes efficiency mode. It becomes very, very chill and relaxed. No, it's not like that. Everything is very natural, very intuitive, and it's very, very clever. Now, the 3-litre V6 TFSI engine with its mild hybrid 48-volt assistance offers a 50 Newton meters of extra boost. Now, what it does is that why the car will always try to, in the different drive modes, in efficiency and comfort mode, it tries to lock onto the highest gear, upshifts as quickly as possible, and stay the car at a very, very low RPM because of the 48-volt assistance, where you can get the instantaneous torque or additional boost down low. So which makes it very easy for the car to set off whenever you're going on hard on the accelerator. However, on those two drive modes, because efficiency is its utmost priority, which is why whenever you go for the throttle a little bit more aggressively, the car does not offer you the same kind of response. Hence, I will just leave it in auto mode perpetually. And in town, the Q7, despite its length, the sheer size, the weight, it's a surprisingly easy car to drive. It's very easy to maneuver around town, parking it up, thanks to the rear wheel steer that turns up to 5 degrees, depending on your speed, depending on your angle. At low speeds, it will go the opposite angle with the front wheels, so that it's able to give you that extra turning angle, bringing down the turning radius a little bit tighter. And it feels very natural. It does not feel that it's difficult to balance and position the car, because there are some rear wheel steering, it's a bit too aggressive, or it's not as calibrated very intuitively. So when you turn the steering wheel, when you're trying to park up the car in tight spots, you feel that you are not able to position the car very accurately because of the aggressive angle. Suddenly it's too much, suddenly it's too little. But Audi, really, they are masters of precision. They've gotten everything nailed down so well. Very intuitive in terms of parking it up, navigating at low speeds. Fantastic. And not only that, the air suspension when you're driving around town at low speeds is just sublime. Mind you, they are running on 22-inch alloys, but it's just so sublime. You don't feel the road, the curvatures, the rough stuff, not at all. All you do is just waft through the tarmac, like not like you're on clouds, but on very soft slippers. And once you're out on the open road at speeds, there are very little cars that's able to challenge the Q7, not just because of its sheer power, but mostly how it puts the power down. It's just so effective at gluing all 4 corners onto the tarmac. So firstly is the suspension setup. The calibration is so well done. Every millisecond it's able to fine-tune and filter out all the different undulations, the bumps, that anything that will unsettle the car at speeds. You just filters it out very, very well. And next up is the Quattro all-wheel drive system. Now this one is the torsion based system, so it's able to really split the power between the front and rear wheels very accurately. And not only that, it's running on this fantastic Bridgestone Turanza T005 tires, which just so quiet when you're traveling at speeds. It just filters out all the kind of road noise coming into the cabin, so you don't get that sense of speed or adrenaline, shock, fear because of all the noises that are coming into the cabin. It's just a very sublime cabin, especially when you're traveling at speeds. And once you come down into sort of this traffic, you're able to very quickly just turn on the adaptive cruise control, push off a button and turn on lane keep assist, set your desired speed, and the car will just sort of quote-unquote drive itself. And it's able to bring the car to a complete stop and as well as resume itself autonomously when the car in front departs. Yeah, I think as a driver, if I'm chauffeuring my family around, I'm able to, stuck in traffic jam, turn on ACC, turn on my massaging seat, push off a button, aircon seat, and crank up the fantastic B&O sound system. 19 speakers. The Achilles heel of any big luxury SUV would definitely be in its maneuverability. Given its sheer size, it's just a little bit cumbersome to drive it on a daily basis. But not the Q7. It's the most satisfying and easiest one to drive among all its aforementioned rivals. It's the nicest and easiest one to be behind the wheel of, and the passengers are just cocooned in such a high quality, well put together interior, and plenty of space for everyone on board. Plus, its most attractive price point makes it a very compelling package for those who are in the market for a large premium family SUV. So the next time you're out comparing premium SUVs in the sub 500,000 ringgit price point, make sure you remember all the intricate details of the Audi Q7 3-litre TFSI Quattro S-Line from my video and see how those cars stacks up against this handsome looking thing. My name's Adrian, thanks for watching cDrive, and make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more detailed videos like this. Bye bye.